Yeah.
We've been live for about 15 minutes now, 15 seconds, 15
Yeah.
minutes. Hello, everybody. If you're watching on Haps, all our friends on Haps, all our friends on Facebook, all our friends on Twitch, all our friends on Twitter. I'm here today with my co-host, Martin Lindeskog in Gothenburg, Sweden, and I am in San Diego, California, Ramona, which is a small town in the northeast corner of the Southwest. How's that for a
With
mind trip?
mountains.
With
Yeah.
mountains, yeah, and a beautiful place. But I'm
Yeah.
here, and we are going to record another episode of our podcast, High Five for Hemp. You can see the I'm gonna trip myself here with the wire. You can
Yeah.
see
You're
my beautiful new T-shirt. If you want to get one, you can go to high5forhemp.com, and there's a link where you can purchase one of these, or if you're listening to us on a podcast, you can there's always a link somewhere, so it's on Spreadshirt, but those are available should you want one. They're beautiful. I would wear a
yeah.
green one, but I'm using a green screen, so I had to get a black one so I didn't
Hmm.
disappear into the background. So how are you, Martin?
I'm
Cheers.
fine. I'm fine. I took now my hemp CBD capsule because this morning I didn't take the drops, the CBD oil. So
Let's
I
save
took the
that.
capsule.
Let's save
Yeah.
that though. Let's save that
Yeah.
for this podcast. This is the
Yeah.
pre-podcast. What I want to talk about
The
before we get
pre-show.
into the hemp, yeah, is that
Yeah.
this week on Haps, if you're listening or watching on Facebook,
Two viewers.
focus. If you're listening or watching on Twitter, if you're listening or watching on Twitch, we are broadcasting on HAPS, HAPPS, which is a really great platform that enables creators like us to share to multiple platforms at the same time, but also it has its own built-in economy. And it's if you join HAPS, you get 100 free coins, and then you can give out those coins to the creators you like, and those actually can get converted into real cash, so to help us produce the show. And we talk about hemp here, industrial hemp, and the future of the industry. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say that on HAPS this week the theme is collaboration, and this entire show that Martin and I are doing is an incredible collaboration. I am here in California, and where are you, Martin?
I am in Gothenburg, Sweden,
You are
in
in
Europe.
Sweden. Yeah, so it's like 5,000 miles. Being like, and he's like, you're sitting right next to me. It looks like that on the camera, like we're shoulder to
Mm.
shoulder here, sitting at the same table. And, my friend Martin, you're always welcome at my table. You could always sit next to
Great.
me.
I
But
look forward to it.
exactly. But
When we're
through
able to
technology
travel.
like
Yep.
this, yeah, and incredible tools like HAPS, we can have this incredible collaboration. So, I think if you're interested, you can leave us a comment. We might even be able to
Yeah,
bring
we
bring
already
you in.
got one here from a
Yeah,
top commenter,
yeah.
Melanie Faye.
Yeah, Melanie. What is Melanie? Well, let's start the show, and then Melanie,
Yes.
we're going to talk about your comment because we haven't even started the show yet. So I'm going to hand it over to Martin, and because this will actually be published as a podcast as well, the audio.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll give it to you,
So at
Martin.
high five for hemp.com. So welcome to High Five for Hemp. I am Martin Lindeskog. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Martin. How are you today?
I'm fine. Yourself?
I couldn't be better. It's a beautiful Sunday here in Southern California in San Diego County in the town of Ramona. And I had a great morning. It's just perfect weather as we reach to the fall. It is season, right? It is
Fall
harvest season
forward.
for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Fall forward. Remember, in a couple of weeks, we're all going to have to change our clocks. But how are things going for you, Martin? It must be getting dark in Sweden. Is that true?
Yes, it's going good. And this morning I didn't take my CBD oil, so I had to take a capsule right now before we started. So
Oh, you're taking the quick path. So if the CBD
yeah,
starts to affect you,
yeah.
well, no, this is an experiment. Good for you. Good for you. So if you're joining us for the first time, you're watching for the first time, Martin and I are exploring the emerging industry of industrial hemp, not just CBD and cannabinoids, though we talk about that a lot because it's quite popular.
Yeah.
But we also talk about the industry of hemp and the other products, the clothes, the building materials, the papers, the incredible economy that exists. And we say emerging economy because there's a lot more freedom now that it's being repositioned as a product that's legal in many nations, not everywhere, right? It was
Mm.
stigmatized for a long time. It was illegal, right? And it's still in some places federally illegal. But little
Yes.
by little, that's opening up. And hemp as a product has been part of our culture for thousands of years. In fact, it was the main product for most of the sales, as in the ships. That was how we
Mm.
used to get things and move things, the big ships, right? If you're
Mm.
talking about the 1800s, right? And 100 years ago, more, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, right? Those big sales, they were hemp sales, right? So that it's got this incredible rich history that was silenced. There was a prohibition and it's slowly melting away. So we're so happy that you are here with us today to talk about something that shouldn't have a taboo around it.
Mm.
It's a useful,
Correct.
amazing plant, and there's a lot of great stories, a lot of great businesses, a lot of great opportunities, and also there's a lot of things you got to watch out for because you can spend a lot of money on these products and just buy the wrong thing and or get taken. So we're here to help you with those decisions, and we're discovering it ourselves. So how's that for an introduction,
Yes,
Martin?
that's a good one. And we have to keep repeating it because you said it's going in the right direction in one way. But today I did a search. So we are doing like this impromptu episode in a way uh, and see what's going. But I think we have experience as podcasters and also interested in this area and this field. And we take it organically and slowly. But I did then a search on the big search engine, Google, but also on DuckDuckGo. And I search on industrial hemp. So I want you to get some, comments and feedback and input from you, and we'll see where this conversation would lead here. So when
Right.
I,
And
yeah,
before we get to that
sure,
story, and I'm
yeah,
super excited to talk about this.
good,
I just want to mention for everyone who's listening to live, right? So if you're watching this
yeah,
on Facebook, you're watching this on Haps, you can leave us a comment and we will actually see it. And we want to thank Melanie Fay for being so brave and having the courage to say, I love hemp. I use
mm,
hemp hand cream and hemp soaps and all kinds of stuff like that. Way to go. Thank you for sharing that. And she's done it for years and it's a wonderful product, right? I,
yeah,
I, I want to just kind of add to that. Like last week, I went to my wife's parents' house, right? And so these the abuelitos that live down the hill, they live here with us in San Diego, the sweetest couple you ever met. And I went down and I went to use the bathroom. And in the bathroom, there was hemp hand cream, right? And it was
mm.
excellent, right? I just put it on me and there's nothing weird about it. It was just hand cream, right? But it
I
was
have,
so good. It was really well
yeah,
produced.
I have it right now because I burned myself on the oven yesterday.
Yeah.
So so I put it on
Yeah, hemp
CBD
oil
with,
is really
yeah,
good for that kind of stuff. The skin really responds well to it. But anyway, I'm going to hand it back to you. I have a
yeah.
bad habit of taking over.
It's all good. I like it. And that's
Yeah,
why, I mean,
it's good.
again, reaching out here, the fifth episode with you, Adam, and the sixth in total, including my trailer. And that's thanks to
Absolutely.
Haps. Thanks to Haps, we are now have this show together.
Yeah, and thanks to
So,
Haps, we are going to be the voice of the hemp industry here on
yes,
Haps. Yeah,
the rational voice. Because
that's
I
right. The
see,
rational, thoughtful voice. That's right.
yeah, I have like a bit issues with it, but as you said, that I've been in it for a long time. It is going in one way in the right direction, but it's also complicated when bureaucrats, politicians, and regulators are in place, according to my view. And recently you said that, and we'll come back to that about the bill in California. But I wanted to see, this misconception and other things when you search on Google. So I searched on industrial hemp, and the first thing because depending on where you're located, I got one from is in Swedish and English, and it's called the Swedish hemp industry. So even here in Sweden, it's starting to getting forces together about because we are of the European Union. So it's okay to then uh, produce industrial hemp. But here it's this thing with this THC and so on that we'll come back to. But they had recently a conference in May about what is industrial hemp and description and uses and so on. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And the one that I put on the capsules here, Let's Hemp, they were one of the sponsors there. But lots of information there. So, but if you would search on industrial hemp, Adam, that search will not come up because it's another IP, location. But the one that probably you will find is the agriculture marketing resource something, and it seems to be linked to some university. Was it Idaho or some other things? And there was saying this we'll see here, yeah, about how you produce industrial hemp. And the thing is that I reflected on, and we will link to that in your show notes, was that you have to get the permit from the drug agency in order to produce industrial hemp. Is that correct?
It can be. It depends on the
Yeah.
state. It depends on the state, but
Okay.
that is correct. And there's a
So
lot of
so
permits that you
then
have
you,
to grow
yeah.
to grow a plant that's being primarily used for either
Mm,
hand cream or for clothes. Perhaps it's the oil and the seed. Remember, industrial hemp is very different than the hemp that is grown for either CBD oil or cannabis that is grown for marijuana, for medical marijuana, right? While it's all the same family, the industrial hemp generally is from the sativa plant.
mhm,
There's a few different variations of the plant, but the two that are most well known are sativa and indica, right? And indica is the plant that they use for medical marijuana. It's very heavy, very very potent, high in THC. The sativa that is used for industrial hemp, one of the major differences is in the way it grows. Okay, so in indica, which is not what we're talking about here, is a plant that grows wide, like a bush, or not very
mm,
tall, maybe 3, 4 feet tall, but wide. And if you clip the branches, you can get many different sprouts, and you can get a big, wide bush, kind of like rotund round thing. Whereas it's the opposite for industrial hemp. It grows high, taller than you or I, 6,
mm,
7, even 8 feet tall. This long, tall stalk. And so the fields that we see, and we have industrial hemp fields right in my town in Ramona. As you go by, you go by them, you can't see because they're so tall until they
mhm,
cut them back down to the ground again. And the reason why they grow them so long is because the fiber, they want the long shreds of fiber then to be turned into twine or a jute or some kind of string that they can then weave into whatever.
mm,
Now, for the oil, for hemp oil, they generally use the seeds. So the plant, like when you're growing cannabis for marijuana, you don't want seeds. You don't want the seeds, right? You want sinsemilla, or plants without seeds. All right, so
mhm,
those are the frustrated females without seeds, so they just keep budding and budding and budding. Those are the ones that get the most potent. But with industrial hemp, it's the complete opposite. They want all the seeds they can get because the seeds are turned into seed pods, which you can eat, or they crush them to make the seed oil, for hemp oil. And those have no CBD in them. They what they do is they get the seeds, they use that for the oil, but then the flower is what's used to make the CBD oil. That's why it's generally a little more expensive because the flower takes a little more processing. So
great.
does that
And
all make sense
yeah,
to you?
yes, it does. And I try to. I think I get the hang of it, but I see the risk of how you could get confused. But the good thing is that we have an opportunity here. And that's what I said recently here in Sweden. It was a book published on what's hemp and what's CBD and what's the difference in Swedish. So, another thing, this is not related to industrial hemp, but it was a youth political organization called, you could call them conservative in a way, but they call themselves moderate party, but the right party. And the youth organization wants them, they want to have put a proposition that it will be legal for cannabis, but the party, the regular party, they are very strict. So I see in the future this force, especially with industrial hemp, will not be able to be stopped. We will have it, as you said, as regular products, like almost like aloe vera.
So, do you really
And
believe that, though? Do you believe that the youth party will eventually become the party, and that the rules will disappear?
no, when often later when they grow up, so to speak,
Yeah, because
they have to be in the according to the whip, the political whip. But it's interesting to see that they dare to talk about it, because here in Sweden and other places in Europe, it's very stigmatic and taboo. But in other parts in Europe, like in Holland, in Denmark, and some other things, it's more
the
open.
UK
So,
too, it's becoming
yeah,
more
UK,
open,
and
right? So
that's
Melanie, who
same, yeah,
commented, she said
yep,
she's from the UK and she can buy hemp at the Body Shop,
yeah.
which is, the Body Shop is in every mall, every main street, that has a
Mm.
body shop, right? So they said I can buy hemp products in my CVS, my drugstore, my local supermarket. So, but that's a completely different product. The hemp
Yeah,
seeds you can buy them in your health food store, right?
yeah. And then for search here, I found 5 takeaways from California's new state industrial, the bill. So that was taken from cannabis legalization something. So that maybe could be interesting to. Have you seen any, news or
Well,
feedback
there is big
or?
news. So we talked about
Yeah,
this so 2 episodes ago. We
yeah,
talked about this bill, AB 45, that was in legislation here in the state of California. That was the most sweeping legislation to provide some regulation around hemp, hemp, and the use of CBD in things like food, in beverages, making it not illegal, making it legal. Now you have to
mm,
follow all of these regulations which have been established, which makes it more difficult to sell those products. And some of the problems is that smokable CBD was not included, or smokable hemp, I should say. So, for example, if you were creating a hemp that was for smoking, and that is a product, that was not possible to sell in state. You could sell it to other states, but even if you grow it here, you couldn't sell it to your neighbor. Right. So that is now the law. And
mm,
there are many companies that create an alternative to marijuana. It looks just like marijuana, and I'll show you some. Right. But it is not. It is hemp. Right. And it has no THC Delta 9. It might have THC Delta 8, which is a different kind
mm,
of THC, but that is part of hemp. That is not part of the illegal THC that is in marijuana, right?
yeah,
And it's not nearly as potent. It doesn't. It's non psychoactive, right? But you get all the other benefits, all the CBG and the other cannabinoids by using it. It's just, instead of using it as a lotion or using it as an oil or a tincture, you're using it as a tobacco. So you smoke it. Well, people would argue, you shouldn't put smoke in your lungs. I would agree. For some people, like, or a vape cartridge, right. So like something like, say, one of these, right. So this is like a typical cartridge you would see for tobacco products. This is the oil that's in here is actually hemp oil, right? It's
mm,
actually just hemp oil in here, and it's totally smokable. To get the benefits of the CBD, the CBG, the CBN, all of the great cannabinoids, broad spectrum cannabinoids that are in there, and it doesn't make you all weird, right? You might feel an effect in your body, like, because many know that CBD will help you with things like inflammation, with anxiety. Some people don't have any effect at all, but for some it does,
mm,
like myself. So it's quite useful and quite convenient. So
yeah,
the reality, though, is that now, while it is more difficult for many of these companies to operate because things have been regulated, so that means that everything has to be tested. And if you buy anything and you're going to put it in your body, you want it to be tested, independently tested, so you know what's in it. That's the problem: is an unregulated, completely unregulated market. There's no guarantee what you're buying is what you're getting, right? So this might create, while it does create cost and complexity to getting the products out there, it creates a bit of safety and efficacy. So you're going to get products that are safe to use. And if you're
yeah,
ingesting them, there's a big difference between putting something on your skin versus inhaling it in your lungs. But so anyhow, so so this was signed by our governor,
Mm.
into a law this week, and things really didn't change that much. In fact, I did an experiment. I went out and I purchased some smokable hemp, which is technically illegal to sell, from a company in California to me, and it arrived just on time from this great company. Bud Pop is a company in LA, so they're our neighbor. Thank you, Bud Pop, and they have a beautiful product. It's really nice. It came in this nice little pouch here, and I can show you what it looks like if you're watching. Basically looks just like the real thing, right? But that is hemp. That
Mm.
is not cannabis or medical marijuana. This is actually just hemp, right? It's pungent too. When I open this bag, I'm sure even my neighbors could probably smell it. It's very funky, but it's effective. It's good, and it's non-psychoactive. Yet it is a very effective way to get the benefits of the cannabinoids. So, for example, if you, those capsules that you take, right, those are great, but they're inside a capsule that has to dissolve inside your body, and then it has to go through your stomach into your bloodstream into your liver, and then it gets out to everywhere, and it could take an hour and a half, 2 hours to get the effects of what you've taken when you take a capsule. Also, if you've eaten anything else, or if you haven't eaten, it'll change the way that it affects you, because that's all being mixed with all the other stuff that's going through your stomach and your system and into your liver. If you take
Mm.
this and you smoke it, it goes directly. It goes
Okay.
directly, and you feel it immediately. And so, you'll feel, if you're feeling, say, some back pain or some inflammation or a headache, it'll just start to make you feel a little more at ease,
Yeah.
more relaxed. At least that's what it does for me. Especially when I'm feeling stress, it's a great neutralizer for me, just to bring me back down, so I'm the happy, normal person like you see now.
Mm. That's good. And someday
But
I
so
want.
the
Yeah.
reality is that nothing's changed, and I'm not sure if it was
Okay.
entirely legal that I got this
Yeah.
sent to me, but they sent it, and I did it all through the mail, so
Yeah.
it
It
arrived.
says according to the takeaway there, the point three here, inhalable hemp ban for now. Smokable and inhalable hemp products are prohibited, but only until the state legislature establish a tax or hemp
That's right.
on.
And so let's make this distinction. It's not that they
Yep.
have anything against inhalable products,
Mm.
right? What they have
They say.
is they don't have a tax structure in place, and they want to tax inhalable products at a higher tax structure than everything
Hmm.
else, just like cigarettes. It's
Yeah.
all because of the money. It's greed that is
Greed is
keeping the,
good, but this
yeah,
is the
yeah.
state, and they want
Yeah,
to collect.
Greece is
Yeah.
the state. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to wait, and but there's a lot of demand, so they want to push this through, but it might not be until like June or July, or it might take like 6 months, I think, until we get enough meetings and enough votes and enough everything, so it's all in play. But I guess some of the companies haven't gotten the message, so they're still selling. I think they're going to sell until they get their hands slapped. But now it's not like a felony anymore, right? So
Yeah.
they're not going to get sent to jail. They're just going to say, "Hey, don't do that," and only if it's enforced. That's another
Mm.
thing about the states too. If you go from state to state to state, how laws are enforced can be very differently. There's a certain like local style that comes into play, and one of the dumbest things you can do, folks, one of the stupidest things you can do, and I'm sorry I gotta say it this way, but people go on road trips and they pack hemp with them or the CBD with them, and then they drive across. So if you're in, say you wanted to go to Texas, right? To get to
Mm.
Texas from California, you need to drive through Arizona and New Mexico. Well, the laws are different there.
Mm.
And in Texas, all of this stuff is illegal by state law.
Mhm.
So if
Okay.
they pull you over and they catch you, oh, but it's legal federally.
Yeah.
No, it's not in the state, and they can put you
Hmm.
in jail and impound your car. So
Oh.
do not travel with these products. Use them in
So
your
so
home, use them in your
okay.
house. But when you get to a state, you must follow that state's law. And if they say it's illegal, it's illegal.
Okay.
You're going to spend the
W-
night in jail
We
or
have to put up
longer.
that map when I'm visiting USA again, then, because
Yeah,
I
there
mean
are green
that's the
states
thing.
and there are red states. That's right.
So we have to have a map that maybe could be merchandise in the future.
Exactly. I mean,
Cross
so
out
it's
states or
okay
not.
in places like Florida and Oregon and Washington State, California, no problem. Even in Nevada, okay. But
Mm,
you go into some places in the middle Midwest and the South, it's not okay. And
yeah,
in Alabama, Mississippi, all those places, man, you can get in a lot of trouble just for a mild traffic stop, or even they're just giving you directions and they hint the smell of something, or you have a light out on your car and they can just pull you over, tear your car apart, find that product in your medicine bag and send you to jail
mm,
for a long
that's
time. So,
oh,
do not travel is my advice.
that
Go with the local law. When you get
yeah.
there, get it if you can get it, but do not
Mm,
travel. Do not cross state lines. You can sell and buy across state lines if it's regulated, but then that's going through shipping containers and you don't have to worry about it. But in your car, physically or walking across the border, I would be very, very careful. I do not
yeah.
recommend the
So
hassle.
so what we have to try to lobbying in a positive way that will change overall in every state in the long run, because
Yeah.
you don't think about it if you have your medicine that you need, or like supplements, or if you have food with you, because now you could have, that's one of the takeaways also with new labeling for food, and you don't really think about that, right? Otherwise, if you would have something in your backpack from one state to another, so as hemp is a natural thing, so we have to look out for this, and maybe we could have some gamification about that, which state is going in the right direction and which is getting thumbs down or thumbs up, and so on. So that was one of the search.
It could affect tourism.
Yeah,
Bud tourism is definitely a thing now. People like to go here just because they can enjoy the products. And
yeah.
so we'll see. We'll see.
And one now, and Melanie said that she need to get ready for her broadcast and buy for now, and then she was interested in buying hemp clothes, up the hemp. So thanks again for the comments there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hemp clothes, incredibly soft. If it not naturally,
Mm,
the hemp fiber is very rough,
mm,
like a canvas, right? So
mm,
if you think I told you all those sails were made, and you think of a
yeah,
canvas sail, it's pretty rough. But if they can treat that fiber and they can make it as smooth as silk, I've seen some now with either chemicals or a mechanical treatment where they vibrate the fiber and so it
mm,
breaks down the cell walls and it gets very, very soft and flexible, and they weave
mm,
that up into a fabric and it's as soft as silk. You can get hemp shirts and hemp skirts and hemp clothing. It's
okay,
very, very comfortable, like hemp
yeah,
pajamas, things like
yeah,
that. And it's affordable. It's not expensive because hemp is abundant. It grows with a lot less water, one third the water of a normal crop, like say corn.
mm,
And think of how many products are made from corn. It's only a matter of
mm,
time before we align which is totally possible, is create using hemp for biofuel. You can
mm,
convert hemp into a fuel, actually, either through hemp oil or just the organic product can be converted into a fuel, kind of like diesel. So diesel
mm,
engines, if the hemp is properly treated, can be used as a source for biomaterial to run cars, even and
mm,
trucks and planes, all those things. It's just not done at scale. So,
mm,
and you need to have a special engine to do it. So I don't know if we'll ever see the popmobile, but
mm,
the bud popmobile,
yeah,
right? So, but it might come someday, right? It might come
mm.
someday
On an
because
airplane flying high up in the
when we
sky.
run out of fossil fuel, you just can grow some more crops, right? Because it grows anywhere and everywhere with very little water. And so it's quite amazing. But Melanie Faye, thank you for commenting and being part of the show live. And she said she's getting ready for her broadcast.
Yep,
So if you're watching this, go on to Habs, find Melanie Faye, and tell her that we sent you, and go subscribe
yeah,
to her show too, because
yeah,
I'm
and
sure
high
whatever
fives
she
and
does is
thumbs
great.
up,
Yeah, high five
and
to Melanie. Thanks for
share some
commenting.
coins, Haps
Yeah,
coins.
yeah, with her, not with us.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, great. So, yeah, in the future they could, support our show in other ways that we talked about.
Absolutely.
Bitcoins, parts of bitcoins. That
Yeah,
will probably
exactly
be.
right. Yeah,
We are
you
we are
you're gonna
getting that,
have to
but
I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure that one out myself, and
Yeah.
I don't think this is the right platform to talk about how
No.
Bitcoins are aligning with podcasting 2.0 and all of these things. And I know you're probably a few steps ahead of me on all of that. I'm aware of it, but don't know it. But I don't want to use this show as the place to talk
No.
about the whole future of podcasting, though I could go on forever. But I think that, as a medium,
Mhm.
talking about topics like this, podcasting is the perfect medium, right?
Yeah.
Because we can flex as the industry changes, and you'll see that to be the case. While we haven't brought on any guests yet, our goal was to put a few good shows in the can, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when we start to invite folks to come speak with us, they can see that we're serious about this. And this is now episode number 6. I'm thinking like after episode number 257 will be I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
After episode 10 maybe we'll be ready to
Yeah.
bring on guests, but I
Okay.
know
We're
there's a
doing
few
it.
guests, friends of mine, that they can't wait to get on the show and talk to
Great.
us about the
And we're
future of
doing
the
it for the long run.
industry.
And I saw on that one that I mentioned, the Swedish hemp industry, I saw
Mm-hmm.
we had lots of speakers and from America and from other places. And also said this book, I want to take get the author there and some others. So that will be interesting to have a
Oh,
discussion
hemp's all
about that.
over the world, in
Yeah.
Malaysia and China and all across Europe, anywhere, South America, anywhere there's people, there's hemp. That for sure. But I can also share another thing about getting
Yes.
guests right now, at least in North America. It's season. It's season time.
Hmm.
They're cutting their crops. They're dealing with, so you're
Okay.
kind of busy. It's
Yeah.
season.
And how often do they do the crops
Well, if
and
they're growing in greenhouses, then
mm,
it all depends on the cycle of the greenhouse. But for outdoor grown, OG,
mm,
outdoor grown, for OG hemp, that's now, right?
mm,
So as we move towards winter, this is the season. So September, October is the season, and then November, December is processing, and then the spring is all the products, are growing out for the next year, and then you'll
mm,
have your inventory through. Now, in warmer places, you can grow more all year round, but because of the light, right? There's
mm,
less light in the winter. This is the
mm.
season right now.
And that's interesting. And we'll see here. Maybe like a roundup here. I did also a search on that popped up on the first page. Best 10 industrial hemp podcast you must follow in 2021. Our show is not included there yet, but it was called Feedspot. So I will check out that what kind of resource that is. But
I would
it was
love to
some
get that list. You got to send that to us. And how can we
yeah, I
get
will
on
do.
that list?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we
it's
should be
some
number one.
interesting podcasts. So I will start listening to some of them and learn more, and maybe we could, build some relationship and share some knowledge and ideas and thoughts and so on. And the last one that I did was on DuckDuckGo, the alternative search engine, and there I found a unique search there called a 6-step guide to industrial hemp processing. So that was what I found on the first page when I searched for industrial hemp. So in one way, it's lots of good stuff there out there and learn about it, and it's also that you could getting a bit dazed and confused, to joke, and we are here to bring the light.
Well, hemp, as the name suggests, is an industrial product, right?
Yep.
So it's not something that you grow in your backyard. You can, right? But it's really being grown through industrial processes for mass consumption.
Mm,
So things like greenhouses or commercial yards or growing fields, having high tech equipment, having high tech processing plants, having high tech packaging and high tech distribution channels and high tech lawyers that can get around regulations. It's all part of that industry, right? But what amazes us is that it's a growing industry. Like right now, I saw a stat somewhere in the state of California alone. There's close to 3,000 different brands of
wow.
hemp products right now. 3,000 different brands of active hemp products.
Mm,
From not only from CBD and tinctures and all the things we'd like to talk about, but also the commercial products like hemp paper and hempcrete, which is a
mm,
concrete that's made for building, and another one is hemp. insulation, right? So in a
Mm.
house, they make a product out of hemp that is like hemp pulp, which is what they use for paper, but instead they fill it between boards that then can be put in the house to keep your heat or your cold in your house, right? So, has the fashion industry found hemp useful? Well,
Mm.
there's been, well, always, because, and I'll tell
Yep.
you why, because canvas that's made from hemp is often used as the fabric, the low cost fabric to design the first model. When you're designing
Mm.
clothes, you will design the suit, the dress, the shirt with a very low cost fabric before you mass produce it with the expensive fabric, right?
Yep.
So, absolutely. And as I explained before, as techniques are getting better and better, the machines are getting better and better to process the fiber. So it's softer and softer. We're seeing hemp fabrics that are similar to bamboo fabrics. If you're familiar, bamboo's been around for a while as a
Mm.
fabric. Also, think about a bamboo forest, right? Tall,
Yep.
gigantic, tall, like long fibers, right? Of bamboo. Very, very
Mm.
similar, right? Very, very similar. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the big
I know
players
that.
like Zara, H&M, and Gap. So we're getting some messages here from Hammerstrand. Hammerstrand, thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
I have to check into that. I would imagine right now, because hemp has got such a positive buzz, that players like Zara, H&M, Gap, and others like that will Forever 21 will get behind the hemp, because it's there's some kind of very positive, socially positive association with the whole hemp movement, right?
And
I do not know enough to say a yes or no. I used to work in the fashion industry when I first got started a long time ago. But yeah, bamboo needs a lot of water. That's right. And that's why hemp is preferable, because it uses one third the water, if not more, like a quarter of the water of bamboo. But it takes a lot more processing on the back end. So you need a lot more energy to run the machines that will treat the fiber to make it soft and then weave it, right? So it takes a lot more processing. So, and then, why that's a problem is that you need a lot of energy to run those machines. And, we use other fuels to run those machines. So, when you look at the big picture, it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
but
The other thing
yeah.
about bamboo is that, a lot of the economies that
Mm.
produce the bamboo could really use the business. So you're
Yep.
helping
Yep.
economies, whereas hemp can grow anywhere, right? So, like, if you're using hemp in North America, you're probably helping the state of California, because that's where
Mm.
most hemp is being grown. Now, there are hemp farms that are going all over the United States as the regulation is changing. But if you want to help California, and we love it, the fifth largest economy of the world, the more rich people than anywhere live here in California, send us your money. that's
Let's have
that's the
friendly
truth.
competition.
Yeah,
And
it's
thanks,
like,
Hammarstrand,
if you
from
look hard
Sweden here.
enough, it's
Yeah.
really difficult, to say. Things are good and things are not good. Like, I don't know.
It's all
I don't
good
know. Yeah,
if
I
you
just try,
market.
and because it's so complicated, I just try
Yeah.
to kind of vote with my heart and my head. Use both, like
Yeah.
intelligence, but also like, is it the right thing to do? I try to
Yep.
learn about the companies before I do the impulse buy. I look into
Good.
who actually is this just a brand and a white label, or is this actually a company that has a stake in the market beyond just making a profit? They're actually trying to make something that's going to make a difference. And is the product itself better? Like, buying hemp just because it's hemp, and some people do that because it sounds cool, right? Is it a better fabric? If it's
Mm.
not comfortable, no. But it's
Mm.
strong. It's strong. You know that. And so I'm more for hemp. I would love to see more development of hemp as a composite material. I would
Mm.
love to see hemp in cars, and I know there is some work being done there where they're creating composite material. So, think about your car. Your car is mostly composite plastics and other materials. They used to be all metal, right? But those days are gone. The frame is metal, right? But the fender, the hood, the doors, the dashboard, that could all be made from materials like hemp. right? And so there's hemp plastics, which is another thing we need to talk about. But very interesting conversation. But Hammerstrand, who's watching us on YouTube live,
Mm.
thank you very much. High five, dude. I really appreciate the comments, and we appreciate your time and insight. And we're going to look into that. So let's, Martin, mark that down. Hemp in the fashion industry. Let's
Yeah,
do that as
and
a
I have a
future
shout.
episode.
Yeah, and I have a shout out there to a person called Elisabeth Bövik, and she is writing a book about the fashion industry, and especially from a woman's perspective. And back in the day, hemp was very useful as a material, but it also said the different classes. So if you have hemp products, because they were in this, you could say beige or neutral color, that was then you could see that they had a certain status. If you had colorful clothes that was with this special color in the nature that colored it red, for example, then it was much more expensive clothing. So
Right,
hemp has
because it's
been
more rare, and there
yeah,
was more
yeah,
processing involved back then,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Dyes, paints were
yeah. The
expensive.
dyes, yeah, and
Yeah.
the dyes was expensive, and it was from taken from nature. And so if you had red clothes, then you know it would cost lots of money to make that. But if you had hemp like beige or very sudden color, natural colors, then you knew that it was cheaper material. So that fashion have been around, and now it will be interesting if you use hemp clothing and fabric for other reasons and so on. So
Well, in
we'll
fact,
see.
now it's more expensive because it's
Yeah,
more of a specialty product until it becomes more mass market again. And you know, you've been able to buy hemp all along, hemp clothing. I know I've seen it for
yeah,
the last 20 years, but it's just not easy to find. And usually it was produced not here in the United States, but now it's becoming more common because it's more freely available. Speaking of clothing, if you're watching and you want to support our show, you should get one of our new High Five for Hemp shirts. Aren't these awesome with our logo here? So we've got these available. They're not very expensive on spreadshirt.com. We'll put a link in the show notes. But if you go to high5forhemp.com, we'll have a link there as well if you want to support the show. That's one way. The other way is the way Mr. Hammerstrand just did. He gave us 20 coins, or maybe it's more than 20.
oh,
He gave us a
yeah,
reward. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Maybe
Thanks,
that's like
Hammerstrand.
100 coins. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you, man. So if you join Haps, they give you like 100 free coins, and you can use those coins to tip the folks. I think it's equivalent of 20 cents. So thank you for the half of or a quarter of a cup of coffee, not at
cheers.
Starbucks. Cheers, our tea, a half a bag of tea. But thank
Yeah,
you, thank you. That's super generous of you, and we really appreciate that. You know, that's a symbol that we're heading in the right direction, right, with this, and it's so wonderful that we have a platform like Haps where we can collaborate at 5,000 miles and talk about this topic without worrying about getting in trouble, right? You know, like if this topic might be kind
not
of
yet.
pushed down or hidden, right? Right. So we could be blacklisted, but hopefully here in on this platform at least, we are
Yeah,
free to speak our mind and share what we know. And now a lot of good ideas today, a lot of good energy. Thank you so much,
yeah.
Martin, for another
Thanks, Adam.
engaging conversation about the amazing plant, cannabis sativa, or hemp, industrial hemp, as we like to say. And that's it. I think it's probably a good time to start wrapping up. Do you have any calls for
Yeah,
actions beyond buying a shirt? What do you think? What should we tell folks to do?
yeah. Spread the good word. Follow us. Follow the podcast and go to high5forhemp.com.
Yeah, do that. And I know Martin, I really appreciate Martin's really on the edge of podcasting 2.0 and even podcasting 3.0. So I know you're aligning us to all kinds of other platforms and services to get our message out there.
Yep.
So this might not be the only place you can find this podcast, you know, for now. Certainly, this is a great way of producing it. And we'll have an audio version of this available if you go to like Apple Podcasts or any other podcast aggregator that you might choose, Google Podcasts, whatever it is. But we highly encourage you to check into Podcasting 2.0 and looking for one of those other podcast players that will enable us to do things like have live polls or show pictures in the audio feed only. Other than that, we can always do things cool here in the live feed as we record the show on Haps and across the other platforms like Facebook, like Twitch. We're on Twitch. We got a comment from Twitch, but I think it was a bit of a spam. It says, if you need real, free, and high quality service to increase your viewers, you get those a lot, right? Somebody who wants to sell us something on Twitch, but hey, they're using Twitch. At least somebody's watching. I doubt they're still watching.
On Facebook
but
Live
still,
also, and Twitter.
Facebook and Twitter, and eventually, hopefully, we'll be on LinkedIn, right? Eventually, when they hook that up, right? You're setting that up, right? Isn't that what you're doing in the background? You're working with the Haps team to set up the relationship with LinkedIn. I know,
nagging them.
So. Yeah, tell Pablo. Are you watching, Pablo? I don't think he is, though. And then also, hey, because we're doing I can't speak. Since we're doing a collaboration on Haps, nominate us for Stream of the Week, right? I'm not sure how you do that, but I know they have the Stream of the Week show, and I'm certain that this conversation is worthy of Stream of the Week. I think so on Haps. This is powerful, useful information, as it always is in my conversation with you, Martin. I'm thankful you like to stay up late to talk to me. What time is it there? So like 11 p.m.?
Yes.
Almost midnight? Wow. Yep. On a Sunday night. And here it's 2 p.m. I'm gonna go into town and pick up my suit. I bought a suit for my daughter's wedding that I had it made. It's finally done. I get to go try it on. And it is not made of hemp. I should have, right? I should have, but I didn't. So anyways, thank you, Martin. Have a great week.
Thanks,
and we'll talk to you in like 2 weeks, right? We'll do this. We do this every 2 weeks. I'll be streaming here and Martin will be streaming here in Hap. So if you want to hear from us, just check us out on our channels doing other things. But this topic we will put to bed for 2 weeks and come back and have more fun stuff to talk about, and definitely mark down Haps in the fashion industry, and the big players, retail players. We want to know, so we'll check into that. We'll get back to you on that. So thanks for the idea. Nice. Adios, muchachos.